Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Friday! Welcome to Game Day Live, presented by the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network and the Primetime Radio Studios, along with And Crew Brew. My name is Vinnie, Parise, here with Shorts Guy, and we are happy to get you set for New Jersey Devils hockey as they take on the Columbus Blue Jackets, a Metropolitan Division rival. Welcome to all fans watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Twitter Live, and Twitch. Shorts Guy, how we doing? The Devils are looking for a big win over the BJs.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I feel like we're a broken record. We gotta win. I mean, aside from that, it's a snow day, and I've got a beer right next to me, so you really can't get any worse than that.
It's a snow day in Jersey. It is freezing where I'm at all times. I saw a meme, Shorts Guy, on Facebook that I think you guys on the East Coast will be able to relate to. It was a picture of a person who obviously lived in a warm climate, and they posted a picture of a 2.5-inch spider that was on their ceiling, an alligator that was on their front porch, and a snake that found its way into their basement. And it was captioned, "This is why I live in a place where the air hurts my face. Do you agree?"
I do agree. I do like knowing that I can go outside and not get eaten by something, even though I have bears that run through my yard. It is nice to know they at least kind of go away.
You know what was funny? My first ever trip to Jersey, like ever, was last year in December. And there was a touch of snow on the ground, a little icy, but it wasn't like a blizzard like it's been over the last handful of weeks here and where I live in Illinois. But when we drove in where we stayed with our cousin, there was like these deer outside, right? And like they were in the front porch and they had that deer in headlight look. We thought they were fake. And we're like, "Oh, those are real. Those are cool." And it was around Christmas time. It made sense, like a decoration. The next day, they were gone. We got the chills. We were like, "Those were real. Those were real. Holy crap!" It was awesome. It was so funny.
You sound like such a city kid.
Yeah, no, I am for sure. But oh man, that was funny. That was very, very funny. It was like, those were real deer. But speaking of real deer, the Devils looked like a deer in headlights at times against the Montreal Canadiens a couple games ago. And boy, did it cause controversy, that game. What a game it was. What a night on X. That was one of the more entertaining, albeit frustrating and annoying. For someone like me who, like, I don't really get in the mud anymore. Like, if you look at my Twitter mentions in 2018 or 2017, I'd reply to a lot of these jamokes, but I really don't reply to anybody anymore. I basically ignore every single person that tweets at me on Twitter, especially if it's something negative. But I was enjoying watching with my popcorn. It was a wild night on X with the whole Lindy Ruff thing, and Novozinski kind of asked him, listen, Novozinski, love him or hate him as a reporter, love or hate his work. I'm a fan of everybody who tries to, get something out of being in the hockey community. And, he asked a question in a respectable manner. I don't think there's any arguing that. Lindy Ruff didn't like it. He went at him. It caused a stir on X and Facebook and everything else in between. What's your reaction to the whole thing? What are your thoughts on it?
I am glad I logged off of X back in June and haven't logged back on since.
Smart.
As far as the game is concerned, the two defensive breakdowns that irk me the most are the one by Nemec and the one by Nemec on the 2-on-1. He just kind of gave the hole wide open front of the net to Roy, and then I know we're good friends with Paul Marino, and I know John is a good defenseman. But that was a mistake. That's a basic defensive mistake. Is you're supposed to be between the net and your player, and that was also. I mean, let's not just heap it all on John Marino. That was. I want to say that maybe that was a defensive play that he was not expecting to have to make, because that was the one bad rebound that Dawes left all night long. It just happened to be that was the worst rebound of the night with 5 minutes left, with Cole Caulfield right in the front and John Marino not in a very good defensive position. And it was just, it was, I don't know. It was just a perfect storm. But I think that the Nemec misread on that 2-on-1 was more frustrating than anything, because everyone's like clamoring, "Oh, goalie, we need a goalie, we need a goalie." I'm sorry, but no matter who you have in net, when that guy's wide open like that in front, no one is going to stop. Nine times out of 10, that player is scoring. So
I
it's
completely
just
agree.
frustrating. It was so frustrating, and this is more frustrating for me because as a goaltender, as a defensive minded person, it's like that's one of those things where you look at your defense and like, where were you? Like, what were you thinking? I mean, smart by I forget who it was. It's escaping me who was bringing it down from the Canadiens. I
It
feel like the name
was Wah scored. Was it?
last scored.
I think it was Caulfield who put the shot
No,
on
it
net.
was
If I remember, it
no, it
wasn't
wasn't
Caulfield.
Caulfield. It was someone. It
I
was
know he
someone
had a
else,
sick
and
game.
yeah, the name is escaping me, but to drag it, and then throw it back at that time. But again, in that defensive, as far as I'm concerned, in that defensive setup, Nemec. I mean, Nemec was coming back with his back to the other rushing player. He should have, as best he could. I want to say that he didn't even know that guy was behind him. He was thinking it was a 1-on-1 with him and then Dawes, because he didn't even know that was there. But that pass should never get through the zone, the slot. I mean, just it was frustrating. And then Novozinski asking a question, and you know what, the coaches are allowed. These guys are human beings. Like if Ruff's going to get aggravated by a question, he can get aggravated by a question. There's nothing wrong with that. They're not perfect people, and they're going to react. I mean, all of us, after having a crap day at work, we get asked a basic question that might just irk us. Of course, we're all going to snap. Why should Lindy Ruff not be allowed to be like, all right, dude, that's just enough out of you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And little correction. Wah scored earlier in the game, and that's where I was confused. Caulfield scored the goal. Monahan was the one who put it on
Monahan and Cole.
Nico
Okay.
Dawes. Sean Monahan put it on net. Dawes couldn't handle the rebound, and Marino, a little bit out of sync, allowed Caulfield to kind of sneak back in and score the goal. Yes, I was born a dummy. So I spend a lot of time trying to not be a dummy by learning and watching and listening to people who are smart. I consider, even though he was a rival for many years, I consider Henrik Lundqvist to be smart in terms of the goaltending position because he was so great at it for so long. He didn't get any cups thanks to the Devils, but because I think the Rangers might.
And the
I don't
Kings.
know if
And
they
the
would have beaten the
Kings.
Kings and the Kings for sure, and the
We got to thank
Lightning
the Kings for
probably.
that too.
The Lightning get a little bit of praise too. They beat them in a conference final. Penguins too,
Mm-hmm.
but Lundqvist, I was watching the other game that was going on at the same time. They were kind of off schedule. Like when one was in an
Mm-hmm.
intermission, one was going. Lundqvist talked about how Dawes probably would have liked to not dropped it there. He would have liked to have corralled it, and it would have gotten a face-off still
Mm-hmm.
2-2
Oh,
with
absolutely.
4 minutes left. I think that's very fair to critique Dawes on not having that rebound. But you know what? Sometimes the puck is bouncy, and I think even though Marino's a good defenseman, and like you said, he probably wasn't trying to, or he wasn't thinking it was a defensive play that it was going to have to make. I think what separates someone like Marino from somebody like Victor Hedman or Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes, those guys always seem to assume that the worst possible thing is going to happen. So how do I prevent it from happening? Like just kind of be one step ahead of things. Marino thought
Mm-hmm.
that it was going to be an easy shift because Dawes was going to have it. That just ended up not being the case. It happens from time to time. We know Marino and Dawes are both going to reflect on it and that they probably a couple days are ready to go here tonight. They probably wish it was a back-to-back. Sometimes I think when you make a mistake like that, you wish you could just get right back out there and make up for it the next day. They had to
Mm-hmm.
wait a day, but here we are tonight. They're taking on the Blue Jackets. Good matchup for the Devils. They have beaten them a couple times this season. They did lose to them one time. That's not necessarily a good thing, but when you go to Columbus, the Devils have been better on the road than at home by a lot. And this could be a game that, you win, you get up to 49 points, you're back within 2 points of the playoff line. And, it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. I know it sucks losing 2 in a row, and one of those being to a Montreal team that's lower than you in the standings. But here's an opportunity against the Blue Jackets team they could be feisty at times, but I think the Devils should be able to hold their own against them. I mean, where are you on this matchup against the Blue Jackets?
It's a must win. we're gonna rue these points that we're not getting against the likes of Montreal and potentially Columbus tonight. If we don't make the playoffs, especially tonight, it's a 4-point swing, and these points are becoming more and more important as January is turning into February quickly, very quickly. We have games at hand. If I don't know how many games at hand we have right now. I want to say it might still be 3. I'm bringing up our the standings now, but we have to start taking advantage. So we're at 42 games played, and as far as the wild card is concerned, Tampa Bay has 45, Detroit has 44, and the Penguins have 42. Washington has 43. Like these are important with games at hand. Like we can't wait to start winning until we're even in games played with the likes of Tampa and Detroit and the Islanders, and it's every game at this point from here on out for the season is a must win, and we have to start beating teams like Montreal. We have to start beating teams like the BJs that we're playing tonight. Like these are must win, especially these Metro Division teams that we're playing. We got the BJs tonight. We have Dallas coming in tomorrow, who's going to be pissed off after being just annihilated by the Flyers, and then we got Vegas coming on Monday. Like tonight, it should be the easiest of the 6 points that are on the table right now between now and Monday. We got to win tonight. Like it's if we want to be a playoff team, we have to beat the likes of Columbus. If we want to make the playoffs, we have to beat the likes of Columbus tonight. It's a must win. It's a must win. It's a 4-point game. It's a must win. We're slowly creeping in the wrong direction in the playoff race, and it's. I feel like we're sounding like a broken record. I feel like I'm talking like a broken record. It's 4-point game. Gotta win. Gotta win. It's just like we have to win. We have to win. We have to win.
So you touched on Lindy Ruff. I know between goaltending and certain people that feel a certain way about Lindy Ruff, a lot of that is being attributed for reasons that the Devils are where they are in the standings. I personally chalk a lot of it up to their injuries this season.
Mm-hmm.
Dougie Hamilton hasn't played since November. Siegenthaler's done for the year, or not done for the year, but he's done for a while with a fractured foot. We've been missing Andre Palat and Jack Hughes for how long now? And of course, Jack Hughes is the most consequential player that this team could lose. The second most consequential player that they could lose is Nico Hischier. He missed time earlier in the year.
Did that already,
but he's back. Timo Meyer's back, and Timo Meyer looked real good in the last game.
Oh
I
my
thought
gosh,
Timo Meyer,
he was goal hunting.
He was goal hunting, 4 shots on goal. The first time he came back from injury earlier in the year, he might have rushed back. I don't know if he was fully ready to be back. It took him a while to get going again. I don't feel that way this time. That guy was awesome last game.
Yeah, absolutely. He was goal hunting last game. He had a lot of good opportunities, and I want to say one of his missed opportunities that he had a really solid chance on went right down the other end of the rink, and the Canadiens scored.
Yeah. Yes.
So along. I was very happy with his game on what was that, Wednesday night. So yeah. I have no problems with him coming back. I thought he came back strong. He came back hungry. That's the other side to Wednesday's game is the Devils just had zero puck luck, and man, did Montreal's goalie play really well. And I feel like the team's, mediocre goalies are playing really, really well against us for some reason because they feel like they have their opportunity. But yeah, Timo came back hot. He didn't score, but he damn well came close. And I'm really hoping he had an assist on one of the power play goals, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
so
he did. He assisted on the first goal by Luke Hughes. It was Hughes from Meyer and Hischier.
And I want to say that tonight he gets on the scoreboard.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to see him score tonight, like a goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Timo score a goal. Tied with Holtz, oddly enough, for the team lead in shots. Last game, a lot of dialogue about Alexander Holtz. He comes in and he scores the power play goal, and then he only gets 2 shifts after that. And a lot of people critiqued the 8 minutes and 1 second of ice time that he got. That is what led to the rude comment by Lindy Ruff. Tough game, obviously, like you said. I'm sure he wasn't in the most chipper mood of all time. I'm sure his own kids weren't looking forward to speaking with him that night. I know that's how I would be as a coach. I'm not a Lindy defender. I'm not a Lindy hater. I want the Devils to win. So whoever's in there on that day is who I want to succeed. That's how I view my fandom. I'm not telling anybody how to fan. If you hate Lindy's guts, good for you. If you want to support Lindy until the cows come home, good for you. I want whoever's representing the Devils on that day to succeed. We open a new door, Alexander Holtz. How would you handle him? Where do you think of him as a player? He's tied for the scoring lead with Hischier in the month of January. So, big shoes to fill, not big shoes to fill. Good player, flawed player, still growing player, in my opinion. I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts on the whole thing.
I think he's still a growing player, without a doubt, and I think that he's being held to a high standard by having a short leash. He's taken a lot of time to get to this point, and he's playing. This is probably the best hockey we've seen him play, especially at the NHL level. We know the skill is there, but there's something that Ruff doesn't like, and I'm sure of it that there's conversations before the game, after the game, practice, behind closed doors, in the coach's office, in the locker room, that he has expectations that Ruff is holding him to, and that Ruff wants to see those expectations held and met and exceeded. And this is it's a coaching decision. Yeah, he scored that power play goal, but it's possible Ruff just didn't like something prior to that. It's possible that Ruff saw something that he didn't like. But I think Holtz is still got a lot to has stuff to prove, and it still has room to grow, and I think can be a really great player for this New Jersey Devils. One of those players that you look back after winning a cup and going, man, Holtz really did it. And if he's going to come up and succeed with some adversity, I think it's going to make him a better player in the long run.
I agree. And, you got Luke Hughes, who scored earlier in the day. We found out that early in the day, that day on Wednesday, he missed the morning skate because of an illness, they were saying, a stomach bug, some kind of bug. Comes out. He doesn't look like he's thrilled to be there in any way, shape, or form, but he scores. When he scores, he didn't even celebrate. But he's Luke Hughes, and he's not perfect in his own zone. There are a lot of people critiquing Luke Hughes over the last handful of games. I don't know why he's been such a polarizing player lately. Someone in my mentions on Twitter talked about him being expendable. I laughed because I'm like, not only do you not trade a 19-year-old defenseman who's third in rookie scoring, you would also really, really, really fracture your relationship with your team's superstar golden boy. So yeah, that was honestly one of the most dumbfounding things I ever heard. When people said that. He comes out, he scores. Luke Hughes is going to be a star, right? Like I honestly think he's the team's number one in the future. Him and Nemitz, they could be 1A, 1B. Yeah. I don't really care what you call either. They're both stars. They were both drafted in the top 4 for a reason. I believe if New Jersey had the number 1 or number 2 pick in 2022, they still would have drafted Luke, or would that have been 2021? They still would have drafted Luke Hughes. I firmly believe that. They're going to keep Jack happy. They'll pay Luke when it's time to pay Luke. They'll probably overpay Luke when it's time to pay Luke because he won't have fully reached his potential yet, but I believe he will, similar to the Hischier and Jack Hughes contracts. It won't be like Bratt where he has to prove it or, something like that over a couple years in a row. But I love watching this kid play, and I'm excited he's going to be going up against his buddy Adam Fantilli tonight. They played together at Michigan last year. They both scored a game in the one game I went to last year, Michigan versus Wisconsin. It was awesome. You'd like to hope that tonight Luke can keep it going and hopefully he feels better.
Yeah, Luke makes some dumb mistakes, and again, it's harder to hide a developing defenseman in a lineup than it is a developing forward, and those defensive mistakes tend to lead to breakdowns, which lead to really good chances on net. That being said, he's playing against his buddy Fantilli, like he said, and on Wednesday night, Jack hosted Cole Caulfield and had him over for dinner the night before, and Cole Caulfield defeated the Devils. So maybe Fantilli is hosting Luke tonight, or hosted Luke tonight or last night, and Luke can, do the same that Caulfield did after having, been hanging out with Jack the night before. That's the hope. I think Luke, I'm right there with you. Luke is going to be the starter. He's just got to develop. Defensemen take longer to develop, and these kids, him and Nemec in particular, I guess you can throw Kevin Ball in that mix. They were brought up early, and they were thrust into a position that I don't think at the beginning of the season the Devils were expecting to have these guys into, but they're here and they have to perform.
Every year, basically since I started following the draft like intensely,
Mhm.
I can't say all my years of being a hockey fan I was an intense drafter, but basically since like 2013, I became heavy fan of the draft and prospects and stuff. Every year I
Mhm.
fall in love with a couple players, and they are, you know, shockingly not all drafted by the New Jersey Devils.
Mhm.
Cole Caulfield was one of those for me. It was tough for me to watch him beat the Devils the other day because, like, I wanted him so bad, but I knew they were taking Hughes number one, obviously. But I was like,
Yeah.
they had 3 second-round picks that year too. I was like, trade back in and get Cole Caulfield. Find a way to get Cole Caulfield. And then they ended up trading for Subban, and I'm like, they're not getting Caulfield now,
Yeah.
for sure not. But I wanted him so bad, and I think he'd score even more goals with the Devils. But happy for him on a personal level. I just wish it didn't come at the expense of the Devils in their most recent game. But we got news: Vitek Vanacek is the starter tonight for the New
Okay.
Jersey Devils against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Nico Dawes is the backup. I think that's a smart move, knowing you play the Dallas Stars tomorrow.
Yeah, it's definitely a smart move, and with the defensive woes of this New Jersey Devils team, it's you probably have a little bit more trust in Nico Dawes, but I don't really think it matters who's in there right now until they solidify this defense. It's going to be tough sledding for any goalie that's in net right now.
Are you gonna be lighting up your pitchforks because Alexander Holtz is on the fourth line?
No,
Me either.
no, I'm not. It's as far as this Devils team is concerned. If a line is playing well, they will be played, and if they're not playing well, they won't be played. It's also a matter of who these guys play good with. I mean, he's also, he may not be playing with the best guys, which could potentially be limiting his ice time and could be the reason why maybe he's being benched. But because he's on the fourth line right now in the beginning, doesn't mean that he could potentially be shifted around too. So we got to keep that in our minds as well. But I'm not gonna lose my mind because he's on the fourth line.
Me either. And like I said earlier in the show, I'm dumb, idiot, but
Mhm.
I probably would. Thank you for agreeing. I would flip.
I was
would flip
agreeing. I was
Bastion.
agreeing that you said that earlier. I was agreeing that you admitted
I
to that
know.
earlier.
Yeah, I don't like I don't want to think I'm smart because then what else are you striving for if you think you're smart? Um, I would flip Bastion and Holtz personally. Like
Okay.
but because then I would have like a wrecking ball fourth line, play them once every 5 shifts or something like that. Keep doubling up the Heischer line, but like you said, late in a game, he still was on the power play. He was out there.
Mhm.
Him and Nemec have been incredible together on the power play in the last handful of weeks. It hasn't stopped him from being the team's tied for leading scorer in the month of January. I think people's argument would be like, well, he'd have more. Well, you also don't know that, And
Yeah, that's true.
I did see people bring up the way that Lindy Ruff handled Jesper Bratt when they first hired Lindy, and we all hated it.
Mhm.
And I remember I wrote some mean tweets about it. And again, younger, dumber, but it ended up working out for Bratt, right? He 70 something points each of the last handful of years. He's probably going to blow past that this year. He's a real good player. And who knows what we think of Holtz in 5 years? Are we going to look
Yep.
back? Because, chances are Lindy Ruff isn't going to be the coach of the Devils in 5 years. I don't really think there's any team in the league right now in 5 years.
Oh, the voice of Sam Wu.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any coach in the NHL that will be the coach of their current team in 5 years.
I think it will be.
All right. I hope. Well, you know what, Sam? If he is, they have at least one cup. There is no doubt in my mind they have
2025. I've told you, 2025. It's all going to come together.
All right.
But they got to learn. They got to learn how to play defense.
That's true.
And also, I just wanted to respond to those fans that were like, well, why are you punishing Holtz? Why wouldn't you punish Nemitz and Marino and, when they coughed up the puck? Number one, and Shorts guy, agree with me or disagree with me. You're a hockey coach. All players are not created equal. Some respond differently than other players. Sometimes coaches are hard on certain players, but they respond well, and some players need to be coddled sometimes.
Yeah, a good coach, a great coach, knows the buttons to push and who to push and how hard to push a player. So yes, you are absolutely correct.
So
a good coach will know what to do.
Jesper Bratt and Alexander Holtz need to be benched a couple times before they get it. And John Marino, I don't know.
They're also down to the bones on defense.
Well, yeah, that too. So again, to answer that question, because I get that question a lot, like, the fans are making a legitimate argument. It is a legitimate argument, but if you've ever coached in any sports, certain players are treated differently because they respond differently, to certain things. So, and that's just the way the world works right now.
And certain players don't need to be told they made a mistake, because when they come back to the bench, damn well that they know that they screwed up, and that if you pile on, it's going to make things worse for them. So some players just know that they made that mistake, and I know that John Marino knows that his defensive positioning on that game-winning goal was the absolute wrong. That was a breakdown of basic defensive hockey play. You're always supposed to be in between your man and the net, and he was not. And I guarantee he knows that. But at that point, 5 minutes left in the game, you know what? You can't bench him 5 minutes left in the game because there's not much time, and you need someone like him out there. So it's also about the timing of when things happen in a game as well.
On top of everything else, John was asked to play the left side when it's not his natural position.
Yes.
They asked him to do too much. He was not put in a position for success. He took one for the team.
And
they're doing it again tonight.
Yeah. And they were talking about that pretty heavily at one point on the broadcast the other night. And Bryce was saying how he never played on his off wing until he made it to the NHL, and it was a detriment to him and his when he was asked to do it ever so often. And he said that his advice to growing defensemen is play in your off wing as often as you can so that you're used to it. So if you get to the NHL and someone says, hey, we need a guy on the off wing, you want to do it, you can do it, and you can do it successfully, because if you can't do it successfully, they'll find someone that can. So that is another good point that I completely forgot, but that reminded me about that conversation. He was talking about Danico, who said that he had the opportunity to play in his off wing a lot and was successful at it. So yeah, when you're playing out of position, it screws you up. And Sam, you remember from your playing days, if you're not playing in your natural position, man, you just sometimes feel lost out there and not knowing exactly what your positioning is, even though it may seem to the untrained person or to the non-hockey player like, oh, you're just on the other side. What does it make it? You're so used to instinctively knowing that you cut to this side or that side, and then when you're in your off position, sometimes you second guess and you overthink the situation, and you're out of position.
Yeah, well, I converted from defenseman to forward, and Rebecca Morse and I have talked about it. Mm-hmm. When you make that transition, it's a totally different game. Or if you move from forward to defense, you're so self-conscious of just blocking the goaltender and wanting to know where the goaltender is at all time, because you don't want to be the guy to screen your own goalie, or trying to block the puck and all. And it's tough to move from your natural position to the other side. I mean, it's just like even in baseball, there was a period of time where they moved Wilmer Flores to shortstop because that's all they needed to play there instead of second base. You know,
Derek Jeter was the second best shortstop on his team for like 10 years, and he still played shortstop.
huh?
A-Rod was better at shortstop than Derek Jeter.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't talk about the Yankees.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I'm an outsider.
All right.
I have no love or hate for any New York based. Like, they're both fine, but like that does happen. I want to address one thing in the chat. Someone said Holtz was benched after the power play. No, Holtz was mostly benched the whole game. He had 8 minutes of ice time. He was hardly playing even before the power play goal. He hardly played after the power play goal. That is just one thing I wanted to
Also,
clear up, that because I said that, and it is true.
Also, I want to point this out, and I think I talked with you about this. I'm not sure, Shorts guy, about coaching. You don't play your fourth line normally when it's a tight game in the third period. You shorten up the benches. And if you're going to play Holtz after that power play because he scored a goal, who do you bench on the top nine? You know, and why? So it's not like, I mean, anybody that's played on the fourth line before, you have to sacrifice for the team. If the coach is not going to roll four lines, they're not going to roll four lines. You're the bottom that you sit on the bench. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is normal protocol, really.
Same thing if you're defenseman 5 or 6.
Yeah.
If you're defenseman 5 or 6 and they decide to short, and this happens in a lot of playoff overtime situations where a lot of time a team will go down to 2 lines and 2 pairs, sometimes 3 lines and 2 pairs, or sometimes you'll go down to 2 pairs and a fifth defenseman that you'll roll into that second pair, and you'll rotate some pairings. But when you're in a tight game, yeah, absolutely, you shorten your bench because you want to put your best guys. You want to have them out there, boom, 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 boom. You want to have them out there as much as possible.
The Blackhawks were so notorious for that. When they got to the playoffs and they started playing those overtime games, Keith, Seabrook, Hjalmarsson, and Oduya, and then they'd rotate one of the 5 or 6 guys, whether it was Michael Roosevelt or one of those guys. They'd get a shift every 10 minutes in the overtime. But for the most part, it went Keith Seabrook to Hjalmarsson, Oduya, Keith Seabrook to Hjalmarsson, Oduya. We're talking about a dynasty 10 years ago, but the point remains, like, those things do happen where guys don't play certain situations in the game. Once you reach a certain point, Holtz is on the fourth line in Ruff's mind. He's going to stay on the fourth line, and when you cut the fourth line from the rotation, you're cutting Holtz from the rotation. I'm saying I agree with it. I don't know, but that's just the way Ruff is coaching. That's the logic behind it.
And let's not forget, yes, he scored a power play goal, but he may have made some defensive mistakes or mistakes with the puck that Ruff didn't like. When you're on the power play, you should have the puck 90% of that 2 minutes that you have that power play. But if he's going to be detrimental to you, if he's good offensively like that, when there's no defensive game in mind, okay, that's fine. But if you know that he could potentially be a defensive liability or just a liability in regular open play, you have to be selective when you put someone out there too. So that's another thing to think of. Like, situationally, he's an offensive player. All right, maybe that's his time to be out there. But then when you're back in a situation where it's open play and you have to worry about defensive play, because you're not really worried about defensive play when you're on the power play. You know what? If he's going to potentially be detrimental, otherwise, you can't. If you can't trust him, you don't want him on the ice. If the coaching staff
100%.
cannot trust him, you don't want him on the ice. Yes, he scored a goal. Those are the most visible things that happen in this game. You score a goal. Great. What's going to happen if he's out there on a 2-on-1, on a 3-on-2? Is his defensive coverage going to be good? Like, these are the things that you have to realize.
Let me ask you this. Serious question. If Ryan Novozinski didn't ask that question, do you think any Devils fans would have noticed?
Yes, only because the discourse on Alexander Holtz was going on all day.
Okay.
Because of what happened in a game against the Bruins. He hardly played in that game, too.
Okay.
And he was on, or no, I don't know if he hardly played in that game. He was on the fourth line on Amanda Stein's lines, and they were talking about Alexander Holtz all game, or all day.
And these are the same people that want him traded for Timo Meier.
Yeah, and the same people that wish they still had Sharon Govich because he's scoring goals with Calgary now, and he was getting if he were on the Devils right now, you'd be saying the same things about Sharon Govich that we're saying about Holtz. But he's getting an opportunity in Calgary, so why can't we just be happy for Sharon Govich? Tyler Toffoli's been good. He's slumping a little cold lately, but overall this season,
Sharon
Tyler
Govich
Toffoli
would be on the
has been
fourth
good.
line with Alexander
And Holtz would be in Utica. No, Holtz would be in Utica. I wholeheartedly believe that.
Sharon Govich has to be scoring goals for Calgary because otherwise they're going to either ship him out or send him somewhere else. And Calgary doesn't have much left
points
up there.
than Toffoli. I don't even get he's a young guy in a new system with an opportunity. Toffoli's a veteran who has been cold for 2 weeks.
He's got more to prove. I mean, Bratt's got 16 goals. Sharon Govich has 18. Does that mean that he's better than Bratt?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know the play. Lindy talked about the play that Holtz got benched for, or not benched for, got limited ice time because of it was a play. And they posted it on Twitter. I remember seeing it. Holtz kind of was in the corner, and instead of breaking the puck out once he finally got possession of it, he kind of just put a muffin onto the stick of a Canadian player. And we're not going to talk about how Kevin Ball did a terrible job of defending that one particular play. Now, that's not Kevin Ball's fault. He wasn't, he was caught off guard. But, Holtz tied it later on. He missed way more than 2 or 3 shifts in the third period. I'm addressing a comment. He missed way more than 2 or 3 shifts, and he missed all his shifts in the third period except for 2, not including the power play. But that's how Lindy Ruff handled his fourth line. He took him off the ice because of a mistake he felt. I'm not a Lindy Ruff defender. I'm not a Lindy Ruff apologist either. I'm just calling it like how I see it. Holtz, he's an offensive player who I wish got more ice time in offensive situations. Do I wish when there was an offensive zone faceoff, maybe they throw him out there with Nico and then get him off if things aren't going well? I don't know. There are all sorts of ways you can handle Alexander Holtz, and we'll see how they do it tonight against the BJs.
Predictions?
Throw them in the YouTube chat right now.
Man,
Holtz will play more than 8 minutes tonight. That's my prediction. Holtz will play more than 8 minutes tonight.
Yeah. All right, yeah. That's over under. Holtz plays 8 minutes. Over under.
I'm going over. He'll play 12. If he's on the fourth line, he'll play 12 against the Blue Jackets because the Devils, they'll get out to a nice lead and they'll roll 4 lines easily. 12 minutes for Holtz tonight.
That would be nice.
He'll have 5 turnovers and then he's going to get benched.
Apple?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I already tweeted out my prediction about Alexander Holtz. The hot takes.
The soon-to-be sponsored hot takes?
Yeah.
The soon-to-be named and sponsored, officially named and sponsored publicly hot takes?
Yes.
Sponsored by Anchor Brew.
No. Lynn's Palace in Morristown.
Yeah, right? Owned by Sam's cousin, Marty.
Yeah. That's my cousin Marty. If anybody didn't know, my cousin Marty, his family owns a Chinese restaurant in Morristown, New Jersey. Lynn's Palace.
Yep. Tell them the Let's Go Devils podcast sent you to Lynn's Palace, the best Taiwanese Chinese food you will have.
Yes.
And if you haven't been there, I highly suggest you go.
And if you don't have a car to get there, I suggest you go to see David Decker of Town Toyota, Route 46 in Ledgewood, New Jersey. Beautiful Ledgewood, New Jersey. Get a Toyota today. RAV4, 4Runner, Land Cruiser in this snow. Highlander, Tacoma.
Tacoma?
Yeah, Tacoma, Tundra, 4-wheel drive, no problem. David Decker, Town Toyota, Route 46 in beautiful Ledgewood, New Jersey. All right, enough plugs.
Actually, no. We got one more plug because you know what you should do, Sam? Sam, you know what you should do after this podcast?
What?
You should go to joinourcrew.com and sign up for all of the outdoor game tailgate updates and where we're going to be the day of the game on February 17th. It's the best and the only way to really get all of the up-to-date news and information on where you can see myself and Vinnie, Sam, Beer Baron, Scotty, Nick Villano, all of us will be there. You can come hang out with us, but you can only do that if you go to joinourcrew.com and sign up for all of the updates for the outdoor game tailgate, which is coming up on February 17th of next month.
Wow.
Very,
Join-
very good.
Joinourcrew.com.
Joinourcrew.com.
Should I read some
Yep.
predictions?
Yeah,
I
read
think
for
we
some
can read
predictions.
predictions. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Joseph says 5-1 Devils. Selecta says 4-2 Devils. Brooke says 3-1 Devils. Beach says 4-2 Devils. Ramona Rice 3-2 Devils. Looking up in the thing, Tom says 4-3 Devils. Ted says 5-2 Devils. And Short Sky, what is your prediction?
My prediction.
Let's
Let's see.
internet down. Is it
Me?
back up? Yeah. No, you're good now.
I'm back up.
Yep.
I'm back up. All right, so the Devils should do well tonight against Columbus. They have to do well. It's no question. They have to start doing well, and they have to start to get these 2 points, which are really 4 points in the Metro. Blah blah blah. I've said it all. I'm gonna go 4-2 Devils. Timo Meier with the goal, and the Devils come out of Columbus and beat the BJs.
Sam?
5-0 Devils. 5-0 Devils.
Like it.
And
Shut out for
Vitek.
VTech.
Shut out for
Yeah,
Vitek.
I'd love a shutout for VTech. I would love a VTech shutout.
Holtz 3 points. You beat the BJs, and then you go home, and then we'll be at American Whiskey for Sergey Breland night, and I'm going to play
Yeah, we will.
the bugle calls. Sarge.
That was so much fun to do.
Yeah.
Man, I miss doing that. The horn is somewhere. I got to find the horn. I had it out at the one game. I got to bring it back.
Vinny.
I'm going to say 4-3 Devils. I think the Devils win 4-3.
Wow.
4-3.
Wow.
All right.
All right. I got one thing to plug before we go. I'll let you guys outro. State of the Fan address. We didn't have it on Wednesday because we were preempted because of the game. Tomorrow, Saturday at 10 a.m., the State of the Fan address. Nick Villano and I will make up that podcast. pucksandpitchforks.com. Tentatively
Very,
scheduled.
very good.
Tentatively scheduled.
All
I
right.
think we have to work out a few things. And I'll be at American Whiskey tomorrow for Sergey Breland night.
There you go. Make sure you tune in to all the stuff here at the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network, including after today's game, Devils After Dark. Scotty of SiriusXM will join and break down the game that was. Hopefully a New Jersey Devils win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Short Sky, is there anything you got to get off your chest before we head out?
No, just win. Just win.
Just
Win.
win.
That's it.
Just win. Hope everybody enjoyed today's broadcast. And we will see you tomorrow for Game Day Live on Sergey Breland night. Very much looking forward to Sergey Breland night. Big fan. Can't wait. Going to be so much fun. I love these types of nights. Tomorrow night we'll be with you. And as always, let's go Devils.